Always show respect to the people working in food service, especially in fast food. You never know what they're going through. That's something my parents always told me, but I still had to learn it myself to get it to stick. Though it didn't take long into adulthood before that happened. It was several years ago now, and my girlfriend and I were in the process of moving in together. Unfortunately, the movers had shown up many hours late, then drove off with all our stuff in their truck around 11 p.m., with the promise that they'd be back the next day. Since we didn't have any groceries to cook, we opted out for fast food. The Wendy's in our old neighborhood was always of stand-up quality, so we decided to check out the one a couple blocks from our new home. On the surface, it was a little outdated, but extremely clean. Cleaner than any fast food establishment I'd ever seen before. As we ordered our food, I noticed something strange. Their customer service was fine, but the employees looked really tired, like they might pass out from exhaustion at any moment. Usually the fast food kitchen is a fast-paced environment, with people on the move, yelling out orders and whatnot. But inside this kitchen, nobody moved from their post even an inch, and nobody spoke to each other, causing this eerie silence. Despite all that, our food came out quickly, and I was glad for it. Seeing their weary faces just reminded me of how tired I was. My girlfriend was also excited. Sure enough, the food was alright by my standards. My girlfriend, however, didn't get as lucky. Just a few bites in, and her face suddenly twisted with disgust. She dropped her sandwich and reached into her mouth.
Ew! There's a hair in my sandwich.
I rolled my eyes and sighed deeply. I knew her appetite had been spoiled. We were both in a bad mood, so even though we both knew better, it felt like this was just one more thing that had been done to us to make our day worse. My girlfriend was always too shy to ever return food at a restaurant, or ask for a refund for anything. And to be real, I was usually the same way. But on this day, I was fed up. And more than that, I wanted to show out for my girlfriend. Since I hadn't been able to do anything about the movers, I'd at least like to make a stand to make sure she was fed right. So I fished the receipt out of the bag and stormed up to the counter once more. The employee at the register said nothing, as he stared through me with soulless eyes. "Excuse me, sir, but I found a hair in my food. I'd like a refund." Immediately, his eyes flared to life with a traumatized look of anxiety. It really caught me off guard. I was expecting resentment and annoyance, not fear. "If you like a refund, I'll have to get my manager. Are you sure you don't want this, sir?" Yeah. Do what you gotta do, man. We're not hungry anymore." The kid didn't leave the register, just pushed a few buttons, then looked back at me with a clenched jaw. Only a few moments later, the manager revealed herself from the back. She waddled toward the counter, swinging her hips around on bowed legs. She was morbidly obese, as if she ate Wendy's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner day in and day out. Though she was clearly middle-aged, her face had a lot of acne due to the grease in her diet, and her hair was pale red and wispy thin, desperately braided into lopsided pigtails. Apparently at some point in this woman's past, she looked like the girl on the Wendy's sign. But at this point, she was clearly holding on to a dream that had withered and died decades ago.
"I'm terribly sorry about the issue with your food, sir. You said it was a hair? What has my father's restaurant come to? This used to be such a fine establishment. But don't worry, sir. I'll get this straightened out right away."
She turned away without giving me time to respond.
"Now which one of you sorry strays left one of your mangy, rotten hairs in this fine man's food, huh?"
Many of them darted their eyes away from her, shooting glances at me that read like pleas for help mixed with hexes on my entire family. I tried to step a little closer and say something to her that might bring her back to the counter. But that's when I noticed something that put me at a total loss for words. The employees were chained to their workstations by the ankles, with little handcuffs that blended in with all the polished stainless steel in the kitchen. I realized why they all looked so dead tired. They literally couldn't leave. And that's when the Wendy found her culprit. A fry cook who'd let a single lock of hair slip out from under his hairnet.
Oh, So it came from your sickly little mop, did it? You like your hair, do ya? You just want to let it all hang out, is that right? Well, let me help you set it free.
She struck the poor kid across the face, then kicked out his knees, sending him to the floor. She grabbed him by the neck and pulled him up to his knees. Holding him there, she took a clump of his hair and ripped it right out of his scalp. The poor boy screamed helpless in agony. The woman ripped off another fistful of hair and dropped it to the floor. She ripped out clump after clump until the boy was almost bald. Then, she dropped him like a rag doll. She started to walk back to the counter, out of breath, with hair still stuck in the sweat of her palms.
Did you want a refund?
Instead of responding, I turned right around and rushed to the table. My girlfriend was already on the phone with 911. I took her by the hand and led her outside, where we waited for the police to arrive. Within half an hour, that wretched woman was in handcuffs all her own, getting squeezed into the back of a squad car. These days, my girlfriend and I have since gotten married, and as we look forward to starting a family, we know that one of the first lessons we'll teach our kids is to never make complaints about fast food, and we'll never let them work in it either. I've seen just how strange people can act in isolation. When everyone had to go under lockdown, the only contact we had with our friends was over the phone through Messenger or video chat. Zoom, however, was something my friends and I had never heard of until we were all going to our classes on it. For no other reason than the fact that it was a novel thing, my friends and I decided to all get together on a Zoom meeting. Despite it being associated with school, we took it as a cool new way for all four of us to meet up in the hall after class, even though we were doing this in the evening. Unfortunately, with the free version of Zoom at the time, you could only host meetings for up to 45 minutes in length. So at the beginning of the call, Carrie, who was hosting, said we should all try to think of things to do together.
We should make good use of the time we have, right?
We agreed, but none of us had any ideas. I thought we were just going to chill and talk. I didn't know there would be games involved. Okay, what should we do then? You got any ideas, Carrie?
I'm so glad you asked, Tyler. I was thinking it would really set the mood if we all turned off our lights and lit up some candles, don't you think? Oh, that does sound nice. I'm getting my pumpkin spice scented one.
My buddy Scott and I looked at each other in the little secondary thumbnails, communicating a lot of feeling without needing to say anything. Like I said, people act strange in isolation. They get bored, start doing things they would normally know are a bit out of pocket. But Carrie and Sarah were pretty cute, so I went along with it. Okay. I took some candles from my living room, fished a lighter out of the junk drawer in the kitchen, then set myself up for some lonesome romance. No, some friendly video chatting in my room, which is of course exclusively candlelit. Then there we all were. Pale faces in computer lights surrounded by flickering orange darkness. Yeah, I guess this looks pretty cool.
I told you, didn't I?
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
Actually, I had another idea I was thinking of asking you guys.
It had already taken almost 10 minutes for all four of us to find candles, set them up, and light them. Yet we hadn't really said much to each other in all that time. Regardless, Carrie had set the mood just as she said she would, so we all seemed willing to let her lead some more.
Do you remember the game Bloody Mary?
For a moment there was silence. Maybe it was lagging, or maybe Bloody Mary was lame now. You mean that thing from years ago where you go in your bathroom and turn off all the lights, then
Yeah, that one. I don't know, Carrie.
You know, I never actually did it. I'm down.
Yeah, Tyler, and you know what? We should all do it at the same time.
It took a little convincing to get Scott and Sarah to agree to this. They were wimps, I thought. I myself was a seasoned enjoyer of scary things. I was honestly wondering if 4 simultaneous summoning rituals might accomplish something, if only through group psychosis. Once we were all alone in our bathrooms with the door closed and the lights off, we found ourselves enveloped in darkness, and all we'd brought with us for light were the flashlights in our phones. Unsurprisingly, none of our faces were illuminated enough to be seen by the others, but we could still talk.
Everybody knows what to do, right? Okay, after 3. 1, 2, 3! Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
I stared into my mirror, straining to see something. Anything in the darkness. A good few seconds passed, and nothing happened.
Jeez, Carrie. Always coming up with some lame stuff. See you later. Wait, don't go! Let's do something else!
But by the time Carrie finished her plea for them to stay, Sarah was gone. And when I looked, I realized that Scott had left too. It sucked that my buddy had bailed on me like that, but knowing that I was now alone in a call with Carrie made my night seem like it was going pretty well. I tried to console Carrie somehow. Let her know that just her and I alone could make good use of the 30 minutes that were left. None of that seemed to land on her though.
Dang it! We messed it up! We forgot the candles!
Apparently, the candles were crucial. Obviously, she had this all planned from the start. She just screwed it up a bit. Something must have been distracting her. I wondered at the time if maybe it had been me. I feel like such an idiot. We both ran back into our bathrooms in the middle of the night, double-fisting lit candles. We set them both at the bottom of our mirrors. With this light source, we could actually see one another on the phone, as well as our reflections in the mirror.
Oh, how about this time we stand with our backs to the mirrors and show each other's mirrors on our phone?
Sure, Carrie. And so we did. And after her count of 3, we again chanted,
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary!
This time, I saw her appear instantly. My brain captured the glimpse I got of the creature, and has projected it on mirrors in the corner of my eye ever since. Even seeing it through just a video of a mirror sent a chill of fear through me so paralyzing I failed to speak. Some kind of tortured slender girl with tattered flesh and blood-smeared clothing stood in Carrie's mirror, staring with a face shrouded in darkness. Finally, I screamed, "Carrie, behind you!" The following moments were such a flash. Carrie screamed and jerked around. She dropped her phone as I heard glass breaking. Somehow, her phone landed propped up on something. I saw in the darkness of the image a candle on its side, then another flame, and with it more light. Carrie was on fire. The flame grew and crawled up her pajamas in a demonic blaze. But the worst part, something walked in front of Carrie's phone, silhouetted by the raging fire behind it, which was now crumpling to the floor in crackling silence. I saw a flash of Bloody Mary's hideous face. Then the call was cut short.
Someone's got whispering. I just heard it. Like it's trying to focus.
Well, something's with me all the time. I don't know what it is.
It's trying to focus, goes in and out.
If you look carefully at her shoulder here, you can see movement like the top of someone's head behind her shoulder on the right hand side. Just there. Whatever this was, moving, there it is. Moving behind her. You see the fingers.
You're telling me for 40 years of cleaning it by hand I could have done this? Ain't no way.
Maura Murray was a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. On February 9th, 2004, she disappeared from the face of the earth after getting into a car accident on Route 112. The events leading up to her vanishing are both cryptic and suspicious to say the least, and transform this from an ordinary missing persons case to a truly intriguing, albeit bone-chilling, mystery. Just before leaving her university campus that fateful afternoon, Maura emailed her professors, informing them that she was taking a week off school due to a loss in the family. That was a lie. Nobody in Maura's family had passed on. This got people thinking that maybe Maura was running from something. Or someone. Even before that day, Maura had been acting unusually. 3 months before she went missing, Maura had been caught using a stolen credit card to pay for meals at restaurants. 4 days prior to vanishing, a university supervisor noticed that Maura had broken down in tears. When they approached her, they said that Maura was just completely zoned out, no reaction at all, totally unresponsive. 2 days prior, Maura accidentally smashed her father's car into a guardrail after possibly consuming a few drinks. A few hours before the incident, Maura withdrew $280 from an ATM for unknown reasons. Sometime between 4 and 5 p.m. on the day of her disappearance, she set off in her car. She made no calls to tell anyone about her planned destination. It was sometime after 7 p.m. that Maura crashed her vehicle into a snowbank. The authorities arrived at the scene. Her car's windshield was cracked, the airbags were deployed, but there was no sign of Maura Murray anywhere. Expensive items, such as diamond jewelry, were found inside the car, along with empty bottles, Maura's AAA card, and a book called Not Without Peril, a guide to climbing in the White Mountains. Since that collision, Maura's whereabouts and well-being remain unknown. She simply disappeared from the face of the earth, never to be seen or heard from again. Some believe personal problems got the better of her, and she went missing on her own accord. Others believe that something more nefarious happened to her, that she was chased down by some obsessive stalker, or that she caught a ride with the wrong guy. For the longest time, there were no developments in the case. Then, exactly 8 years after Maura vanished, this video, titled Happy Anniversary, was uploaded to YouTube. This old guy just stares into the camera, laughing, gives a knowing wink. The words, Happy Anniversary, are then plastered over the screen. This Happy Anniversary video was uploaded on the 8th anniversary of Maura Murray's disappearance. It was uploaded by a user named 112 Dirtbag. Maura had vanished en route to 112, and her father had famously used the word dirtbags to describe whoever had taken her. This was no coincidence. This old man wasn't just making an anniversary video for his wife, and then suddenly remembered something really funny. This was intentional. It didn't take long before other users started making these connections. Word started spreading that 112 Dirtbag was responsible for whatever happened to Maura Murray, and this video was uploaded to torment her family, laughing at the fact that he'd gotten away with what he had done. This was brought to the attention of the authorities, and an investigation began. Despite taking the video off the site, the guy behind the channel, a man named Alden Olson, also from Massachusetts, was tracked down and questioned. People thought this was going to be a huge break in the case. In actuality, the whole thing was a hoax. He was just some old codger who'd become enthralled by Maura's disappearance, and wanted to insert himself into it in some way. It was all just a joke. A big, funny joke. Good one, Alden. To this day, we still don't know what happened to Maura. I'm inclined to believe that the loss in her family she was talking about was in reference to herself. She then either started a new life somewhere else, or ended the one she already had. Still, even though this dirtbag wasn't responsible for her disappearance, it's completely possible another dirtbag was. We don't have any answers, so all we can do is speculate, and hope for the best.
On the evening of February 9th, 2004, almost 18 years ago, Maura Murray crashed her car on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, never to be seen again.
A Massachusetts college student got into a car crash 18 years ago and then was just never seen again. The cold case getting new attention now that the FBI has added Mara Murray to the nationwide missing persons database.
Her disappearance just days after the launch of Facebook. The case has been labeled the first crime mystery of the social media age.
People in the States hear a lot about Canada. How everyone here is so nice and overly apologetic. So much so that I bet many of them think nothing bad ever happens here. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. I served 5 years as a soldier, but I can still say without a doubt the most brutal and traumatizing thing I ever saw happened right here in my home country. The real problem with our famously benign disposition is that we don't even know how to properly punish people like in the story I'm about to tell you. Maybe I would have slept a little easier in these recent years if this had happened within the jurisdiction of the police down south. I was riding a westbound Greyhound bus through Winnipeg, only a day or so into what was meant to be a nearly week-long journey. We'd just recently gotten back on the road from a rest stop, the last one before it would get dark. We'd also picked up a few passengers, which meant some of the seats had been shuffled. The sun was beginning its long summertime sunset, and I was catching the last of the light to get back into the book I was reading. I was sitting by the window in the second-to-last row of the bus, just enjoying the simplicity of civilian life, the absence of conversation, and the constant rumbling of the engine and road noise. Then, without any trace of warning whatsoever, I heard a strained, desperate scream, like something between the cry of a neglected baby and the howl of a wounded wolf. I felt the warm spray of blood hit the back of my neck, saw it stain the pages of my book and splatter across the window in front of me. I slowly and gradually turned to look behind me, and saw a man in headphones being repeatedly stabbed in the neck by another man with a long hunting knife. 3 seconds ago, they were sitting next to each other, not saying a word. But now this poor guy was trying to figure out what was going on while his life force was getting sliced out of his neck.
Everybody get off the bus! There's a man being stabbed! Stop the bus! Get out! Somebody call the cops!
Suddenly, the bus driver slammed on the brakes and swerved to the side of the road. Everybody looked to the back of the bus in a single moment, which I remember quite clearly. All those alarmed faces looking towards me, turning to fright in a flash. There was a scene of panic as everyone tried to get off as quickly as possible. If anyone had tripped and fallen, I think they may very well have been trampled.
Whoa! Go! Go! Move! Move! Out of my way! Move! Move! Move!
The driver was the last one out. He waited for everyone to get down the steps before he got up from his seat. As he stood and walked toward the crowd of spooked people just outside, I saw the man with the knife sprinting down the aisle.
Look out!
The driver jumped out and I shoved the door shut behind him, getting it closed just in time. The maniac stabbed through the panes of the door, sticking the knife out through the crack. The bus driver and I held the door closed on the guy, trying to keep him contained in the bus. Just down the road, I saw a semi-truck pull off to our aid and hop out from his cab. I heard so much screaming and crying it was hard to stay focused on any one thing.
He's got a knife!
I saw the look on the trucker's face change up real quick when he heard that, getting a better judgment of our situation. He climbed back into his cab and retrieved a few crude melee weapons. He ran up to me and the driver and looked in through the door at the man with the bloody knife. The trucker shook a crowbar back at him, and that seemed to put the killer off for the moment. He backed away from the door, giving me a moment to breathe. The trucker looked around and took stock of what was going on. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but something about his presence was assuring to me. Like I knew that with him around, we could keep this psycho contained until the police arrived.
Everybody doing okay? Somebody's on the phone with the cops, right? Good, good. You there, you look like a strong young man. Take this. If he goes near any of these people, we take him out.
He handed me a hammer. I took it without thinking about it, just feeling better to have something to defend myself from these people. The following events were unbearably tense, like some sort of hostage situation. We weren't able to look away from him for a moment or he might try something else. But it wasn't the waiting at the door and guarding against the physical threat that was unbearable. It was watching through the windows what that maniac got up to while he was alone with his victim's corpse. He never said a word to my recollection. He never even looked panicked or on edge, but he sure kept himself busy. I watched in utter shock along with the trucker and the bus driver as the killer walked to the back of the bus and grabbed his victim's head and chopped it off with 5 or 6 swings. But he didn't stop there. He held it up by the hair and took it out to where everybody could see him and showed. This story happened to me on a Thursday night, when I was home alone in my apartment complex. I live with my roommate Josh, who was usually out with his girlfriend, so that gave me the luxury of having the place to myself. I was video chatting with 3 classmates of mine on Facebook Messenger. Their names were Eric, Craig, and Cindy. This was my first interaction with them as our professors selected us to be in a group project together. Throughout the night, we brainstormed ideas while getting more acquainted with one another. This is when the story gets a bit weird. Eric spontaneously asked the group chat, "Hey guys, want to see something cool?"
What is it?
Getting an A+ in this project would be cool.
"Sure man, what's up?" Eric sends the group chat a photo. I click the chat icon and see a disturbing image of a woman with her arms and legs missing. What the hell?
Ew! Why are you sending us this?
Dude, where the hell did you get that photo?
I'll tell you, but you guys really need to keep this a secret. Promise me you won't tell anyone.
This isn't marketing related, but okay, I guess.
Sure, dude.
Please don't tell me you were the sicko who took that pic.
I didn't. I actually got the photo from the dark web.
Dude, you go on the dark web?
What's the dark web?
Supposedly, it's this hidden part of the internet where you can buy illegal stuff. I personally wasn't that educated about the dark web, but I did hear rumors about it growing up. I've always acknowledged the existence of these kinds of things growing up, but I was still unaware as to what potential atrocities lie within the online world. Eric then says, "Yeah, I just recently started getting into it. I found the photo from one of the forums I came across called Homemade Dolls. Here's the full-size picture." He then sends us the exact same photo, except this time it had a description box next to it with the title, Doll Number 20. Why the hell, of all people, did I have to be in a group project with this weirdo? The details in the description stated inhumane acts that can be performed on the victims before being shipped to their buyers. I felt pretty disgusted reading the dialogue, but I was still somewhat skeptical about the whole thing. It was hard to deny its legitimacy, though. The authenticity of the image looked too real to be a hoax.
To be honest, this looks photoshopped.
I don't know. It looks pretty real to me.
Dude, that's disgusting. Why do you even go on sites like that?
Well, I only go on it occasionally. Midway through Eric's sentence, a random user joins the video chat. Who's that? I don't know.
I swear to God, we better not be getting hacked.
Eric, is this one of your stupid friends from the dark web? I'm gonna call the cops if it is.
That's when I decide to move my mouse cursor to exit the video chat. Why the hell isn't this working? Come on, work, goddammit! My cursor was resisting to move no matter how many times I clicked or moved my mouse. That's when the random user's video turned on. It was a guy wearing a pig mask. The mask didn't look like some dollar store knockoff. It looked like the skinned face of an actual pig. He wore it like he was Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Hey, is anybody seeing what I'm seeing? Eric, dude, I really hope this isn't a stupid prank. It's not, dude. I don't even know who that is.
Why is there a guy wearing a pig mask on my screen?
Guys, what's going on?
I don't know why, but something about that moment, I just knew. I was looking into the eyes of what true evil looks like. That's when my classmate's video chat completely froze. The only screen functioning was the pigman's. It seemed like our computers were being hijacked. I couldn't quite comprehend what was going on until I heard the pigman say,
Can you see me? Say yes if you can hear me.
Say it!
I reply with, yes, what do you want from me? In an uncontrollable stutter.
You know that feeling you get when you're with someone for so long? Every single day just drags and becomes a routine. I just want something new and fresh, you know? Something vibrant that will make me feel alive again. I just need a new doll. What do you say? Does that sound like a brilliant plan to you?
I was completely appalled by what was transpiring. That's when I hear a muffled female's voice in the background. The pigman then swivels the camera towards the direction of the muffled voice, only to reveal a woman with no arms and legs. She had duct tape on her mouth and a chain bound around her neck. The woman was flailing her severed arms wildly in a desperate attempt to escape. A couple seconds later, the pigman approaches her while holding an axe, the kind of axe lumberjacks use to chop down trees. I began to hyperventilate as I knew the inevitable fate this woman was about to endure. He then raises the axe up in the air. I begin screaming from the top of my lungs.
Leave her alone or I'm calling the cops!
As I took my last glance at the woman, I realized that it was the same woman in the photo that Eric sent. That's when the pigman smashes the axe against the woman's skull repeatedly. I practically leap up from my chair and begin to vomit. Acknowledging the pigman's existence was one thing, but going into further detail about afterwards just felt unnecessary. This is the part where I wish the story ends. It's been a year since the incident. I ended up dropping out and taking the semester off due to the mental trauma I endured. I now work at a local retail store. I was coming home from work one day and I saw an envelope sitting in my mail slot. I open it and discover the most horrifying thing that sends shivers down my spine. It was a picture of my classmate, Cindy. Except she had no legs and no arms. The picture was titled Doll Number 21.
I remember waking up in a steel cage, locked inside a limitless white room. The room looked like it had no end. Just my bed, the cage, and a swarm of distorted figures surrounding me. There were hundreds of them, and they all looked like they were possessed, like something out of the movie The Exorcist. Where the hell am I? This can't be real. I must be dreaming. I couldn't distinguish whether these people were human or not. But all I can say is that I was overwhelmingly frightened by the over-exaggerated mouths of these creatures. They just kept tormenting me like I was a test subject in a lab experiment gone wrong. Please, stop it. Stop it. What the hell do you want from me? Leave me alone. That's when I closed my eyes and had a nostalgic moment. Almost like I went back in time. I remember opening my eyes and waking up to my bedroom. I can't live like this anymore. My body was dripping with sweat, and my bed sheets were completely drenched. I was honestly convinced that I was living in an alternate reality, trapped in a never-ending nightmare. Taking my prescribed meds really helped with my schizophrenic tendencies. as it would numb down the hallucinations that I experienced on occasion. My parents understood my condition, but my sister Jenny didn't. Me and her never got along growing up, as she would always tease me about my condition. Well, tease me about my other condition. I also have obsessive compulsive disorder, otherwise known as OCD. I had a disorder where I couldn't touch, taste, nor bear the sight of pineapples. I know this sounds quite bizarre, but it's haunted me throughout my existence. It was a compulsion that I had developed at an early age and have grown a great deal of disdain for. The tough segmented skin and the pointy leaves was always something I fathom as to why one could think such a thing was edible. I always thought a pineapple was equivalent to eating a porcupine, just a pointy object that humans have to butcher down to consume. As understanding as my parents were about my condition, I still feel like there was an underlying favoritism towards my sister Jenny. I can tell they enjoyed Jenny's company more, as she was less high maintenance than myself, to say the least. Growing up in the same household as her really made me more uncomfortable than I already was. She would use my condition as fuel for her bullying antics. I remember when I was in school, Jenny would always text me when she arrived to pick me up. The annoying thing was that she intentionally texted the pineapple emoji as opposed to just texting "I'm here," just to get under my skin. I remember another time where I invited my friend Steven to come over to my place. "Hey Jenny, can you order some food for me and Steven?"
What do you want?
"Anything but the thing you know I don't like. Please?"
How about I get you guys a pizza and 2 drinks? Sound good?
"Yeah, thanks sis." "Dude, is that your sister?" "Yeah, why?" "Oh, she's hot. I mean, she's got a lot of tattoos." "Shut up, dude. Stop checking out my sister." "Hey, dude, I was just looking at her tattoos. She seems like a pretty cool person." "You wouldn't be saying that if you lived with her." "Well, I only need to live with her for one night." "Ow! I was just joking, sheesh." About 30 minutes later, the pizza guy arrives and delivers the pizza.
Here you go, boys. Eat up.
I open the box, only to discover a pepperoni pizza, topped with pineapples. What the hell is this? Why did you put pineapples on the pizza?
Just tell your friend to eat the pineapples, duh. All the other toppings sucked.
You suck. I wish you never lived. It's been a couple months since that incident. My hatred for Jenny has unfortunately become far greater as time went on. I was honestly convinced she had a compulsion herself for making my life a living hell. There was this one occasion where the final straw was drawn. I remember watching TV in my bedroom when I see Jenny lurking behind the doorway, holding a sheet of paper. She began waving the paper at me while saying,
Hey Jake, I have 2 surprises I want to show you.
It'd be a surprise if you moved out, 'cause I'd love that.
Don't be rude. I have a drawing I made for you.
What is it? Jenny then reveals a hand-drawn picture of a pineapple with SpongeBob on it. What the hell is wrong with you? Why can't you stop tormenting me?
I have one more surprise for you. I got another tattoo.
Jenny then lowers the sheet of paper, revealing a tattoo of a pineapple on her chest.
Surprise!
Get the hell out of my room, you freak. I hate her. I hate her so much. I hate her so much. I hate her so much. A couple hours passed by, and it was time to go to bed. I couldn't sleep that night, as my blood pressure felt like it was at an all-time high. I could feel my head throb in pain, as I became more irritated with the thought of my sister's existence. Why the hell would she get a tattoo of a pineapple? What kind of sister does that to her brother? It was about 1 a.m. in the morning when I ultimately decided to go to Jenny's room and confront her about her derogatory behavior towards me. While approaching her room, I can hear Jenny's voice subtly echo loud ahead saying,
"Surprise!"
over and over again.
"Surprise! Surprise! Surprise!"
I then open her bedroom door, only to see a pineapple sitting on top of her bed. Is this supposed to be another stupid orchestrated prank? That's when I grabbed a pair of scissors from the top of the nightstand and began piercing the pineapple over and over again, stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Good luck sleeping on top of this mess, loser.
Morning, it's time for school. Jenny, wake up. Jenny! Jenny!
What? What the hell? I could have sworn it was a pineapple. No. No. No, no, no. I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. I decided to close my eyes and recite over and over again in my head, "Please be a dream. Please be a dream. Please be a dream." That's when I opened my eyes again, only to see myself back inside a steel cage. I was still in a white room, surrounded by hundreds of distorted creatures. But then my vision started becoming clearer. I realized that I wasn't in a cage. I was in a jail cell. Those distorted figures weren't creatures. They were men in orange jumpsuits. I now remember. I am in jail for the murder of my sister Jenny.
At Domino's, now you can carry out a one-topping pizza with any of our 5 crust types, and you can order any way you want to, online or by phone. So choose hand-tossed, crunchy thin crust, gluten-free, New York style, or handmade pan. And your favorite topping from Domino's.
This story happened to me on a Saturday night. It happened when I was with my girlfriend, who we'll call Lisa for the sake of the story. I was sitting on my bed watching TV while Lisa was on her laptop working on a school report for her English class. It was due the following Monday, which kept her busy on the laptop for the majority of the weekend. My parents were out of town, so we had the house to ourselves. I'd just like to point out that Lisa and I were polar opposites from each other. I say this because she was a goth who fantasized over dark and morbid kind of things. I was the complete opposite from that. However, our different personalities didn't stop us from pursuing a relationship with one another, as we'd been together for about 4 months now. I'd also like to point out that Lisa was extremely socially awkward if she was talking to anyone other than myself. There was a time where I invited her over to a family dinner with my parents. Lisa was understandably a bit shy at first, but as the night progressed, it turned out to be less awkward than I anticipated. Near the end of dinner, my dad asked Lisa,
"So Lisa, if you could have anything in the world other than Jack, what would it be?"
I don't know if I feel comfortable answering that.
What do you mean? What else would you want other than my son?
Harold, stop it. Sweetie, you can tell us only if you want.
I could tell Lisa was getting uncomfortable about the impromptu interrogation my parents decided to have by the look on her face.
Well, it's complicated.
To be honest, I was a little taken back by that statement, as I thought I knew everything about her. I decided to chime in saying, what do you mean, Lisa? Things took a total 180 when Lisa says,
Don't you guys wish you could resurrect your dead loved ones?
Sure, I guess I would.
My family found Lisa quite bizarre since that day, but oddly enough, accepted her for who she was. Fast forward to now, and that statement that Lisa made would all make sense to me. Lisa was tired of the monotony of her report, so we decided to head to the balcony. I remember both of us being out of our minds while gazing out into the horizon. Midway through, Lisa offhandedly makes an odd remark saying,
It would be pretty cool if I could see Todd again.
Todd was Lisa's ex. I found this quite strange that she would say such a thing, considering the fact that we were both dating each other. I assumed she was out of her mind, but sadly that didn't stop me from giving her a piece of my mind. I agitatedly said,
Fine, go see him then. It's not like I ever liked you.
Lisa then gives me a death stare like she wanted to throw me off the balcony. I stare back at her while I casually take another. A long pause of awkward silence occurred, but then I had a nostalgic moment. I remembered Lisa mentioning something about Todd passing away just before we dated. His cause of death was due to undisclosed reasons I won't get into. Everything Lisa was saying all made sense now. She was just expressing that she wanted to see Todd again since he was no longer here with us. I attributed my lack of memory to being in my mind, which helped make the mishap more plausible, so I extend my arm to pass the to Lisa. She then slaps the out of my hand and aggressively says,
He was better than you anyway.
I had gotten into arguments with Lisa in the past, but I could tell she was at her boiling point this time. She then storms out of my place and immediately gets into her car. Despite being wrong in the situation, I stupidly shouted from the balcony saying,
Fine, have fun fishing on Tinder, loser!
She then flips me the bird and begins driving off into the distance. I eventually head back to my bedroom and continue to watch TV. About 5 minutes later, I couldn't help but feel guilty about what I did. I then decide to text Lisa saying, Please come back to my house. I'm not trying to fight. I also have a free place in in case you forgot. A couple minutes go by and I get no reply. That's when I start becoming more anxious. I kept contemplating whether I should call Lisa, but I didn't want to submit to the fact that I was begging for her forgiveness. I continued watching television. That's when I noticed Lisa's laptop sitting on my computer desk. She had stormed off and obviously forgot to take it with her. I noticed that Lisa had left her school report still open on a Word document, so I decided to proofread it, thinking it would be my silly way of apologizing to her. The report was titled, Be with your loved ones, even when they're dead. This wasn't that surprising, as I knew the kind of person Lisa was, but it was also disturbing due to the circumstances that had just occurred on the balcony. I skimmed through the report and find Lisa talking about a relationship and how she wasn't internally happy and needed some sort of closure. I became more and more anxious the further I read into the report. She goes into detail about her past relationship with Todd and how she misses him tremendously. As I skim through more of the report, I come across a part where Lisa talks about being able to reconnect with Todd through a satanic blog she found online. To summarize what she said, it basically insinuated that you would have to go to the last spot where the person died and die the same way. That way you'll be able to reconnect with them in the afterlife. I begin panicking and call Lisa's cell phone. She then picks up the phone and says,
"What do you want?"
in a voice full of disdain and hatred. I try to pretend like I knew nothing about the report and say, "Please come back. I'm sorry about everything that happened. I'm sorry about what I said."
"There's no coming back from this, Jack."
That's when I hear the sound of a train honking from a distance. My heart dropped and I yelled, "Lisa, where the hell are you?"
"Where I should have been all along."
Hear the train getting louder and louder, like it was coming with a full head of steam towards her direction. I began shouting,
Lisa, get the hell out of there! Lisa, please, I'm sorry!
Desperately trying to stop her from what I knew she was about to do.
Lisa, I'm sorry, okay? Get the hell out of there! Please!
Oh, Lisa, please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Lisa, please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please come back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was such an awful boyfriend. I'm sorry, Lisa. She then said,
"See you again, Todd."
No! No, Lisa!
Oh, Lisa, please, I'm sorry. This is a true story from when I was 18 years old. It still creeps me out just thinking about it. It all started when I was heading home from my friend Jason's house. It was about 3 a.m. in the morning, so it was pretty dark outside. I was walking towards the bus stop to catch the blue night bus that ran during after hours. My friend didn't really reside within a suburban area. He was more or less closer to the downtown region. That meant there were a lot of random weirdos strolling around the streets, which definitely made me a little uncomfortable to say the least.
You're uncomfortable, I have to sleep out here.
I decided to wait inside the glass shelter of a nearby bus stop as I regretted my decision to take the bus this late at night as opposed to just calling an Uber. I couldn't help but notice the dozens of flyers stuck up on the glass of the shelter. They were scattered everywhere, all varying from different things like job postings, rooms for rent, that kind of thing. There was this one flyer that really caught my attention. It was a picture of an older gentleman doing a peace gesture with his left hand. The title of the posting was called, "Easy $300 in One Day, Call Me." I decided to read further into the flyer as the thought of making an easy $300 in one day seemed like a bargain one couldn't refuse. The flyer had a description which read, "If you are looking to make a quick $300, then you've come to the right place. This job entails the assistance of cleaning/chores for a period of 12 hours. Call my cell phone and the details provided below if you're interested. Regards, Philippe." I was a part-time college student, so any extra money would have definitely been beneficial to me. I decided to take a plunge at the opportunity, so I took a picture of the flyer as I see a night bus arriving towards my stop. As I boarded the bus, I refrained from calling the job posting as I didn't want to wake the employer up, so I ultimately decided to text the number instead. My text read, "Hello, please contact this number as I am interested in the job presented in your flyer." About 10 seconds later after sending the text, I get a call from an unknown number. I assume it was the guy in the job posting, so I answer it. Hello? A man answered back, Hey, you interested in the job? Is this Philippe from the $300 a day posting? Yes it is. What's your name, kid? I'm John, sir. How are you? He completely disregards my question and says, You mind coming over right now, kid? Sir, it's kinda late for that. Can we do tomorrow? Kid, listen. I know it's very late at night, but both my wife and grandma are sick, so I could use a helping hand as soon as possible. I felt really uncomfortable knowing this guy was trying to guilt trip me into coming over to his house. Mind you, it was approximately 3 a.m. in the morning, which made the thought of going that much more absurd. I tell him, Sir, if we can arrange this for tomorrow, it would be much more convenient for me. Kid, John, listen. If you come right now, I will pay you double. $600. Take it or leave it. Whether the man was bribing me or not, I unwisely took the bait. I ended up saying, I'm on my way. I'll be there in about a half an hour, while simultaneously getting off the bus to call an Uber. I ended up getting dropped off at the address provided within the flyer and immediately began second-guessing my decision. While standing in front of the house, I get a call on my cell phone. It was from an unknown number again. I answer it and say, Hello? Hey, Johnny, can you see me? No, sir. Where are you? Look at the window. I'm looking at it, but I don't see you, sir. Look a bit closer. I'm looking dead at you. Where, sir? I get startled by a firm grasp on my shoulder. Oh, I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to scare you. I thought you could see my reflection in the window. Anyways, please allow me to show you inside my house. Thank you, Philippe. You can call me Creep. Creep? Why would I call you Creep? It's a nickname that my mom gave me as a young boy. All my close friends call me that, so I'd appreciate it if you did the same. Okay, Philippe. Creep. We are technically friends now, right? Yeah, sure. Very well then. Let me show you inside, John. We end up going inside, and I can't help but notice the amount of dolls laying around his house. It honestly looked like he was a hoarder that had an obsession over dolls. I decided to ask him, Why do you have so many dolls? It's just a collection that I've accumulated from my childhood. Aren't they precious, John? I've built a special bond with these guys. I'll never feel alone again, you know? At this point, I was pretty convinced that the name Creep was actually his biological name due to the creepy vibes he was giving off. I see. Well, what exactly does this job entail? Well, for starters, my grandma and wife are unfortunately ill, so I have to take care of them since they're in bed all the time. If you don't mind me asking, what's wrong with them? Well, my grandma has Parkinson's, so she's unable to function without my assistance. My wife sadly got into a tragic car accident after her dance rehearsal. She's pretty much paralyzed in her legs and can't walk, so I now have to take care of her as well. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. She was so beautiful before the accident. I'm unbelievably lucky to be with such a beauty like her. We got married and had about 100 people there. It was the best wedding ever. Sorry if I'm getting carried away. No worries. What would you like me to do for now? You can start by vacuuming the house. Just don't go inside the bedrooms, because that's going to disturb my grandma and wife's sleep. A couple minutes later, I begin vacuuming the hallway upstairs. The bedroom doors were slightly open, so I could vaguely view the inside of it. I remember seeing a glimpse of a woman sleeping on a bed which I assumed to be his wife. It was unfortunate to see her like that, as she was quite beautiful from what I was able to see. I noticed the man was in the other bedroom having a conversation with his grandma, so I continued vacuuming without drawing too much attention towards his direction. Have you been feeling better? Are you okay? The next part of the story is what sends chills down my spine. The man asked me to put the vacuum down and meet his grandma. As I approach the inside of the bedroom, I see a creepy life-size doll laying on the bed. I unhesitatingly ask him, where's your grandma? John, don't be rude. This is my grandma. I felt my heart fall to my stomach when he said that. I honestly wanted to get the hell out of there, but I didn't want to potentially put my life in danger, so I just went along with it and said, "Nice to meet you." He then said, "My grandma thinks you're really handsome and you should come over more often." Sure, I'll definitely come over more often. My grandma wants me to grab her some McDonald's. Why don't you continue vacuuming the place while I do that? Sure, sir. Creep. The man then hands me an envelope and says, "Here's your $600. Thanks for being there for us." Yeah, no problem. I then continue vacuuming the hallway as the man exits the house. I need to get the hell out of here. This guy is a psycho. As I dropped the vacuum on the floor, I peeked inside the bedroom of where the man's wife was sleeping. To be honest, I felt really skeptical about leaving her there, so I shouted, "Ma'am, is everything okay? Can you hear me? Ma'am, are you okay? Can you hear me?" She didn't say anything. She honestly looked like she was heavily sedated off the meds I saw on top of the nightstand. I end up leaving the house and catching an Uber. I eventually make it home and remember the man had gave me the $600 in an envelope. Thank God I made it out of there. At least I made an easy $600. I opened the envelope only to see 6 pieces of paper. Each piece had a poorly drawn face with $100 written on it. I shouted in anger, "What the hell is this?" I contemplated on giving the man a piece of my mind, but I honestly didn't want any further conflict with this psycho. Just before heading to bed that night, I got a call from an unknown number. It was quite obvious that it was the creep, so I ignored it and never looked back. It's been a couple months since that creepy experience. I haven't gotten any more calls from that unknown number since. I was strolling around with my phone one day when I got a notification that someone followed me on Instagram. I noticed it was the creep from the avatar picture on his profile. I was pretty freaked out that he was able to track me down since he only knew my first name and we haven't contacted each other since. I noticed he had only one post, so I clicked it. It was a picture of the woman and the creep on the same bed. She looked sedated while wearing a wedding veil. The creep had his arm around her while there were hundreds of dolls surrounding the two. The caption read, "The best wedding an audience ever." She was so beautiful before the accident. I'm unbelievably lucky to be with such a beauty like her. We got married and had about 100 people there. It was the best wedding ever.
I live alone in a small house in Canada. And this all happened about 6.5 years ago. I opened my front door one morning to go and get some groceries and found the strangest thing waiting for me outside. Lying on my doorstep was a small USB flash drive. Almost stepped on the damn thing. Who'd put that there, I thought. It was just your generic USB stick. No label or anything. No way to know who it came from. Well, I did what anyone else would do. Took it inside and plugged it into my PC. The device was full of pictures. In fact, nothing but pictures. Dozens of them. I opened the first one and clicked through them in order. The first few were just shots from around town, general places that I recognized. The fourth image was taken on our town's busiest street. In the image, the street was full of people, but there was somebody in it that caught my attention immediately. Me. The image showed me in amongst the crowd, just minding my own business. Well, this was a small town. Was it just a coincidence that I was in the picture? The fifth image had been taken on the same day. Again, it was taken in our town. Again, I was in it. The photographer was closer to me this time. Whoever had taken these pictures of me, I hadn't noticed them at the time. Next came several more pictures of me in various locations around town. Then, something more chilling. A photo of a house. My house. It was nighttime in the image, and the living room light was on. I clicked through to the next picture. It was another image of my house, this time taken even closer. Through the living room window, you could see me sitting on the couch, watching television. I could tell from the clothes I was wearing that it had been taken the night before. I had no idea that somebody had been outside watching me. I kept clicking through the images on the drive. Photo after photo of me inside my house, taken from just outside my window. Because it was so light inside and so dark outside, I was totally unable to see that somebody was watching me from out there. I couldn't see them, but they could see me, clear as day. Didn't even need to use the flash on their camera. After 20 or so photos of just me inside my house, there came a real curveball. An image taken from inside my hallway. The man or woman or whoever was taking these pictures of me had been inside my house the night before. There were photos of my living room, now lightless and empty, obviously taken after I'd sleep. Photos of my kitchen, of my dining area, my stairwell, and several taken as the unknown person ascended my stairs towards where I was sleeping. My brain started to run wild with thoughts about who had been following me. Had I wronged someone in the past? Said the wrong thing to the wrong guy? Was this just some weirdo who'd decided to target me? Were they armed when they came to pay me a visit? Whatever the case, somebody had come inside my house at night and taken pictures of all of the rooms, including my bedroom. The second to last photo was of me, fast asleep in my bed, totally oblivious to the person in my home. The final image was just of a handwritten note, framed in close-up. The message on it simply read, "Never hide a spare key under your doormat." I've since moved house.
This story happened a couple years ago when I was in my early teens. It all started when I went to movies with my friend Sam to go see the world premiere of The Dark Knight. The movie garnered a lot of notoriety at the time, obviously due to Heath Ledger's leading role as the Joker. I personally thought it was the greatest movie I had ever seen, considering I've seen almost every Batman movie that ever existed. I decided to buy some Dark Knight merchandise at the vendor booth located in the theater. What appealed most was how cheap the Batman masks were selling for. I didn't have a costume picked out for October yet, and neither did my friend Sam. We both collectively purchased one mask each and figured it would make for an easy costume to trick-or-treat with. I can honestly say it was an astronomical improvement from the shift for the ghost I was last year. Fast forward to October 31st. Me and Sam both wore our Batman masks and began going door to door, looking for an opportunity to fill our candy sacks faster than any other trick-or-treater on the block. Trick-or-treat! Well, happy Halloween, Batman. I mean, Batman. It lame.
Get the hell off my property, you ungrateful!
The majority of the houses were pretty generous, with the exception of a few bad apples, to say the least. On this particular night, there wasn't many houses that had their lights on, which generally meant that they didn't really celebrate Halloween, or in other words, they weren't giving out candy. Me and Sam were understandably upset considering we'd been walking for at least an hour. I continued trick-or-treating while Sam began to head home through the pit located in the middle of the neighborhood. Why didn't I just stay home and watch SpongeBob? The pit was just a fancy nickname for the forest reserve, which was generally used for nature walks during the day, but me and Sam went there solely for the sake of a shortcut home. I began walking about half a block down when I see more houses without their lights on. Screw this, I'm going home. I eventually approached the pit while beating myself over the head for not leaving at the same time as Sam. As I entered the pit, I instantly had second thoughts of taking the longer route, as this route seemed nothing short of irresponsible and dangerous. I ultimately decided to man up and continue walking through the pit, as I didn't want to prolong my already dreadful night. Why the hell did I have to take this route? I can barely see anything. I knew I should have dressed up as a skateboarder. I would have been home already. I remember the pit being so dark to the point where I could virtually see nothing except for whatever my cell phone light was illuminating. What the hell was that? I began walking faster as I could hear faint sounds of what sounded like a maniac clown laughing. What the hell? Who's there? Who's there? At this point, I was so petrified I instinctively dropped my candy due to the adrenaline rush flowing through my body. I couldn't care less about the candy as I genuinely felt like my life was in danger. Ah! That's when I saw the source of the laughter standing a few feet in front of me. It was a man dressed as the Joker from the Batman movie I saw previously. He honestly looked like an exact replica of Heath Ledger's with a hint of blood on his costume. What made this more disturbing was how casual his demeanor was. He just stood there smiling at me like my appearance was amusing to him. I didn't want to express the fear I felt internally, so I tried to playfully marvel at his costume and say, "Hey there, I really like your Joker costume." No matter how hard I tried to keep a composed poker face, my body language and mannerisms couldn't help but show the fear that bled inside of me. He then took a couple steps closer to me as I began to cautiously take a few steps backwards. Hey man, what the hell do you want from me? Why so serious? Happy Halloween. The man surprisingly walks past me while I watch him in complete shock. What the hell was that? Was that some real-life Joker? At this point, I continued walking home while looking back every 2 seconds to make sure the man wasn't lurking behind me. I eventually make it home and watch a couple of YouTube videos, trying to forget the creepy encounter that just took place. That's when my dad pops into my room and asks me to answer the house phone. Hey, Mark, answer the house phone. Hello?
Hey, Mark, is Sam still with you?
That's when I felt my heart drop to my stomach. No, he left to go home way before I did.
Oh my god, why would you leave without him? He's not even home!
Sam's parents end up calling the police, which resulted in an entire block search party. What came of such an innocent Halloween night turned into a nightmare. Sam's remains were eventually found in the pit, with his face lacerated into an exaggerated smile, and his head decapitated from his body. I haven't trick-or-treated since, and I still live with the regret of not leaving at the same time as my friend. I informed law enforcement about the bizarre encounter with the man I saw that night. Call it speculation or whatever you want, but I know the death of my friend Sam had something to do with that sick man. Or should I say, the Joker.
My God, why? Why did you take my son from me? Why, God? God, why? Why did you take my son from me?
Police are looking for any witnesses to come forward in the connection of a deadly homicide of a teen. The victim's remains were found at the local park observatory. The suspect is described to be approximately 6 feet tall, Caucasian, and was last seen wearing purple attire with a green vest and tie. Police say the suspect is described to have face paint imitating the Joker from the blockbuster hit The Dark Knight. If anyone has any tips, please contact your local law enforcement and you shall remain anonymous. Alright, Karen, back to you.
Trick or treat! Well, happy Halloween, Batman. Batmen. That's it? Lame.
Get the hell off my property, you ungrateful twerps!
Chupa Chups, forever fun.
Dick's epic 4th of July sale is on. Take 20% off bog bags and igloo coolers, 25% off Stanley drinkware, $200 off Callaway irons and TaylorMade drivers. Buy any DST item and get the second half price. Shop in-store or at Dix.com.
So, this story happened to my mum's friend in Korea about 10 years ago. Every time I hear this story, I still get chills. My mum's friend lived in an apartment complex in Seoul. She was a stay-at-home mother with a young daughter, and her husband was working during the days. One day, she was coming home from running errands with her daughter and got onto the elevator in her building. When she got inside the elevator, she noticed there was a man wearing a cap and a yellow raincoat, and he kept his head low, so she couldn't really see his face. She immediately felt really uneasy, and she made her daughter stand by her side, the side farthest away from the man. What made her feel even more uncomfortable was, when she pressed the button for her floor, there was no other lit number. And on top of that, she noticed that he was carrying something wrapped inside newspaper close to his side. Things started to click in my mum's friend's head, and she started to panic and decided to take out her cell phone and pretend she was calling home to her husband, who was obviously really not at home, but at work. She started saying things like, "Oh, I'm on the elevator and about to get off. Can you get the door for me?" and making it seem like her husband was waiting at home. When the elevator did reach her floor, she quickly got off and grabbed her daughter and started to walk as fast as she could to her apartment. She noticed that the man also got off on her floor and was slowly following her down the hallway. When my mum's friend got to her door, she started banging on it really loudly and shouting, "Hey, Yobo, I'm home. Please open the door." Yobo means husband or dear. She was kind of pretending like he was coming to open the door. Upon seeing this, the man in the yellow raincoat started to walk away, back towards the elevator. When he seemed to be far enough away, my mum's friend quickly picked up her daughter and slid open her door's passcode thingy. This is usually how people get into their homes in Korea. And she started to frantically punch in her key code. But the problem was that the buttons would make sounds, so that the man knew that no one was going to answer the door for her, and he turned around and started to run back towards her. My mum's friend at this point was practically screaming, and the first thing she did when she opened the door was throw her daughter inside. When she got inside herself, she saw that the man was practically inches away from the door, but she managed to shut it and lock it just before he could wedge his hand or a weapon in through the door. Afterwards, looking through the door's peephole, she saw that the man was walking away, back towards the elevator. Several months pass, and my mum's friend was watching the news, and there was a coverage on the capture of a serial killer named Yoo Young-chul, who used to kill a lot of prostitutes. She told my mum that she could never forget the dread she felt when she saw the all too familiar yellow raincoat and the same hat that he was wearing when he was apprehended. The person who submitted this story has included a wiki page on Yoo Young-chul in case anyone was curious. It also details all of his killings. A link to this page can be found in the description below.
I will never look at life the same way after what I experienced. It still bothers me just thinking about it. It happened a while ago when I was working as a cashier at Starbucks. I worked part-time as there was unfortunately not enough hours available, so moving out of my parents' house wasn't the easiest endeavor to accomplish. My parents always nagged at me for the latter part of the day, which always had me stressed out. They would always send subliminal jabs alluding to me moving out. I'll never forget the time my dad confronted me while I was doing laundry.
Hey, Jason, can you ask for a raise at work?
I can't exactly do that, Dad. I'd probably get fired if I tried that.
Well, can't you work somewhere else then? I'm gonna need your room soon, because I plan to make it Charlie's room.
Charlie was my baby brother. Well, can't Charlie stay in your room a little longer?
I said I'm gonna need your room, damn it! Well, where the hell am I supposed to stay then? Figure it out! You've had plenty of time now!
I've always avoided going home right after work, especially after confrontations like that. I would much rather procrastinate at work after my shift was done just to avoid the inevitable arguments that awaited me. Sounded like a better deal anyway. It'd been a few weeks since the tense clash with my dad. My life had been a little bit more bearable since I started going to this local karaoke bar located down the street from my workplace. I would make it a routine to go there after work just to instill a little more enthusiasm in my already dull life. I was a regular, so I knew all the employees on a first-name basis.
What you drinking tonight, hot stuff?
I'll get the usual, Sally.
Wait a minute. It's you again. Jason, right?
Yep, me again.
Good to see you again, Jason. One order coming right up.
Thanks, Sally. I really enjoyed coming here as it was the perfect place for guests to lounge with just a small admission fee. The bar always held live performances from various bands, so there was usually a decent-sized crowd always in attendance.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the final performance of the night. Please give it up for the lovely Katie!